I'm Brandon Amoroso, and this is the D2Z podcast, building and growing your business from a Gen Z perspective.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to D2Z, a podcast about using the Gen Z mindset to grow your business. I'm Gen Z entrepreneur Brandon Amoroso, founder and CEO of e-commerce agency Electric. And today I'm talking with Calvin Lammers, SVP of e-commerce for premium hot sauce TRUFF. Thanks for coming on, Calvin.
Thanks for having me, Brandon. Yeah, great to be on with you here today.
So before we jump into things, can you give everybody just like a quick background on yourself and how you got into e-commerce in the first place?
Absolutely. So yeah, I think I've got a few gray hairs. I've been in the e-com CPG space for a while now. Actually started my career working for an Amazon subsidiary, Quidsy, back in the day, about 10, 11 years ago. That was my first kind of foray into the e-com space, and then made the switch over to the brand side on CPGs. So have been in that world ever since. Started with the Kind Snacks, Kind Bar, moved over to the beverage space and worked at Bai, Spindrift, sparkling water, and Healthy Kombucha. And most recently, obviously, made the jump over to the condiment space with TRUFF about a year ago, all in the e-com digital space. So like most people, I don't think there's a common path into the e-com space. And certainly mine was not either. I studied sport management and thought I was going to be working marketing for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And here I am selling sauce. So yeah.
That would be pretty cool though.
I would agree, but yeah, so that's kind of how I got into the e-com world here.
What are some of like the biggest differences between what you were doing at Health Aid versus what you're doing at TRUFF, specifically as it relates to the fact that the product is different?
Yeah, I think the biggest one right off the bat is fulfillment. I mean, obviously that was one of the biggest hurdles in the beverage space. In general, just you have heavier product, lower ASP, so you're working with very slim margins for the most part. So I think that's where it made it very difficult, for a lot of beverage brands for the longest time to really figure out how the unit economics really work. I think at Health Aid, we were able to make it work, and I think that's kind of par for the course as well with TRUFF. Is Health Aid a little bit more premium price point, so you have a little bit more room to work with. And then on the TRUFF side, obviously unit economics work out a little bit better as you don't have a 20-pound case that you're trying to figure out how you can work. I know, Brandon, you know that all too well on the fulfillment side with wine shipments and how expensive that can be. But I think the unit economics definitely work out a little bit better outside of the beverage space. And with TRUFF, that the challenge for the condiment space is just even lower ASP retail prices typically in the condiment space. But again, because we're a premium luxury brand, our price points help kind of sustain and allow us to really make a viable financial business in the e-com space. So I think that's definitely been the biggest change right off the bat. But then obviously the overall CACs, targeting, penetration, competitiveness, completely different as well in the spaces. So I think there's a lot of transferable things across categories, but I think there's obviously unique nuances with the category, and definitely I've seen that in the last year that I've been at TRUFF.
Yeah, and I noticed you guys have been sort of spreading like wildfire through retail.
Correct.
Was that already sort of building up before you started, or is that the culmination of some of the efforts that you've been putting into place? And what's primarily driving it?
Yeah. So I think it's been really fascinating to see. So TRUFF started as a digitally native DTC first brand and launched on DTC first, Amazon about a year later. And that really was the focus for the brand for the first few years, and saw tremendous growth, and trial through that. About 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we were able to use that success, as a digitally native brand, to get into Whole Foods nationally. And so that really was our first exposure foray into the retail space, and really saw a ton of success as that first kind of entry point or foray into retail. And so as we've seen, kind of the brand continue to grow, I think grocery CPG is interesting, as there was a huge, transition and kind of wave in consumer patterns and habits over COVID, where people were more open to and actually buying grocery and CPG items online. But still, retail is the primary channel that where grocery sales happen. So it's a necessary place to be and kind of build out a channel strategy around. So Whole Foods was the first foray into retail, saw success, and really over the last year and a half, we've seen the success and in sales velocities, success that we've seen at Whole Foods, and allow us to sell into other nationwide grocery mass retailers. So we're in Kroger, we're in Publix now, we're in Target. So I think where my team and our focus on helping our sales team is how we can layer on digital media, retail media to help ensure success and healthy velocities to prove out our success in these retail partners and obviously warrant even further expansion. So it's definitely been in close collaboration with our sales team to facilitate that.
And I almost forgot the most important part, because I know what TRUFF is, and I'm sure a lot of people who are listening know what it is. But can you just give a brief background on what TRUFF is?
Absolutely.
Just for anybody who doesn't know.
Yeah. So and if you haven't tried it yet, definitely check us out at truff.com. So we started with the original black truffle infused hot sauce. That was the original product. Very unique, differentiated in the hot sauce space. Nothing like that, out there. And my co-founders did an amazing job, building a brand from the first product and established a great packaging, super luxury premium, with the positioning. So we started with the hot sauce, expanded into truffle mayo, truffle oil, and truffle pasta sauce. So now we have kind of a full portfolio of truffle infused premium condiment ingredients. So we've got all of your possible recipes and dishes covered. So that's kind of been our kind of approach, and we've seen a ton of success with the expansion into these other product lines and categories, and being that truffle infused premium condiment brand.
How do you drive trial through e-commerce? Because I'm assuming it's a lot easier in store than it is through direct response.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So I think that always has been one of the toughest hurdles, especially on grocery, because it is this product is all flavor based. It's taste profile, so you need to drive that trial. So I think that's where we definitely in all of our acquisition campaigns, we're using our kind of entry point product, and that's where we're kind of tracking. If we're bringing customers in on our hot sauce or our truffle oil, what is that kind of initial hook for customers that's going to have the lowest CACs and also have the best LTV in kind of trial or customer journey into our other product lines. And so I think that's been a crucial point with us now that we have this full product assortment, in going heavier with the products that are seeing the lower CACs and then have that healthier returns for across the full assortments. And so that's where we've seen our original hot sauce prove out to be that best entry point, but then also our truffle oil, our newer products, has provided a great alternative for us as if you have somebody that's non-spicy fan, getting that truffle oil has really been a good entry product, and we've seen really healthy CACs on bringing customers into the portfolio, into the brand with our truffle oil as well. So it's all around highlighting the premium quality, highlighting that taste flavor profile through the content. And so that's where we definitely lean heavily into that food recipe content. We call it quote unquote food porn, with our content to really show off that the quality of the products and taste through visuals, more or less.
Yeah, because I feel like it's one of those things that you don't really know that you need it until you've had it.
You try it, right?
This is awesome.
Exactly.
Whereas with kombucha, it's a little bit more, I'd say, probably less education required, albeit there's still a lot involved, but people are generally familiar with kombucha versus like a truffle sauce?
Truffle, yeah, there's definitely a lot. I certainly, and I would say I'm still no truffle expert, but yeah, that's it. It certainly was an unknown territory or kind of area for myself getting into the brand. And obviously, I've learned quite a bit being here. But yeah, I think that's the same for a lot of customers. Right? Truffle is just not something a typical day to day occurrence or occasion, but now it can be with truff.
Mm-hmm. So over the last, I'd say, 12 months, what are some of the, and you started just about 12 months ago, right?
Correct. Yeah, just about a year. Yeah, exactly.
So there's obviously a lot that's happened in those 12 months. What are some of the like changes that you put into place that you knew like day one, this is what needs to happen? But also, what are some of the pivots that you've had to make along the way, given responses to some of the more like macroeconomic things going on?
Yeah, I think right off the bat, and I know this has kind of been a common trend recently with a lot of brands in the digital and DTC space, but kind of that shift away from focus, purely on, or not purely, but most aggressively on acquisition and bringing customers into the funnel, but making that shift to prioritizing loyalty and customer LTVs, really owning that customer relationship and maximizing any customers that you've already brought into the funnel, and making sure that they're staying on with you, just as overall increases in CAC. Obviously, consumer demand has kind of died down a little bit, just given the current kind of market climates right now. So really prioritizing it and making your retention a priority number one for us, since we built up this great database and this customer profile over the last 5 years for the brand. So really focusing on maximizing that relationship and retention with customers. So I'd say that's probably been the biggest shift. Since years prior, it's been solely focused on acquisition, and making retention a number one priority. And then along with that, kind of all the elements that ladder up into that. So really fleshing out our subscription program, our rewards program, referral program, and really highlighting those in the overall journey. Building out our customer VIP program to really highlight our highest value customers. So just everything with that has definitely become a top priority for us with the DTC space. And then on the flip side, I would say, as it kind of we talked on earlier, the entry point or the newness of retail media for TRUFF as a brand, given that we're new to these channels and really prioritizing these programs and networks with our retail partners in driving trial with our retail presence as well. That's been a new element that's been introduced to our team that we haven't played on or haven't really participated in previously because we weren't available in these retail partners.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah, I think at least from what I've been seeing on LinkedIn and whatnot, your retail footprint has increased substantially.
Absolutely. We've doubled our store count in just a couple of months. So it's been a massive growth. So it's been interesting to see both with the retailer directly, but then also Instacart obviously has become a top partner for us as well, in driving our last mile delivery options as well with Instacart and the other retailers. So it's been exciting to see and obviously be here firsthand, kind of witnessing it.
Yeah, and have you pivoted at all away from acquisition in general on e-commerce? Or
I wouldn't say necessarily pivoted it away, but I would say we've definitely maintained kind of very efficient and aggressive kind of CAC targets, knowing that we've seen overall overall campaigns be a little bit tougher on the acquisition side. But that's where we've introduced kind of new elements, whether it's like Black Crow to help with audience profiling, and helping with kind of offset, obviously, some of the challenges with Meta that we've seen on the acquisition side. So it's been more, kind of resourcing up and adding, new elements to the mix to help us maintain efficiency on the acquisition side. So not, really kind of proceeding with or having a growth at all costs kind of mentality, and just, readjusting to an efficient acquisition strategy while really hyper focusing on the retention side to maximize any customers we've already brought in or are bringing in the future.
Got it. Your customers seem pretty loyal and invested into the brand. Are you seeing a lot of traction through like referral or ambassador or influencer programs?
We are, yeah. So referral, I think we've seen some success, but I think that is part of, we want to make that more of a focus and more of a crucial element in our kind of customer life cycle. But ambassador, affiliate, that's been a major success and a major kind of channel and trial driver for the brand the last few years. So we see we have customer kind of surveys, post purchase surveys, and word of mouth friend referrals is far and away the top way that most customers are kind of discovering or hearing about the brand. So we want to make that value that and incentivize that with our loyal customers. Not that they need it already, since we're seeing it kind of happen organically, but kind of prompt that a little bit more visibly.
And you're obviously in a different position because you have more of an established brand than most might have.
Right.
What are some, I'd say, tips and tricks that you would give to an emerging like CPG brand just getting started on how to go get those first customers when they don't have the benefit of being in a Whole Foods?
Right. And that's where I do think, assuming you have, a great product, great positioning, you've kind of mapped out, your presence, your brand profile. I think you need to have that, very solid from the beginning, so that you're authentic in every single touch point that you're having. And if that's consistent, I think that I give Nick and Nick, my co-founders, all the credit in the world, is that they knew clearly what the brand was, what the positioning was, what the kind of target was going to be with TRUFF from the beginning, and that has stayed consistent over the last 5 years. So I think making sure that you have a consistent and clear positioning and focus for the brand is from step one. But then I think having word of mouth is really, this day and age, that authenticism really carries a lot of weight, especially in the food and beverage space. So whether that's having a massive focus on sampling or driving trial for lower costs right off the bat to drive up reviews and kind of that word of mouth and UGC with any brand, I think that's crucial from the starting point. So that's where we were super heavy with influencers and affiliate and ambassador profiling and seeding shipments and sending out product to customers and general people to try. I think that was the crucial element for us from the beginning. And I think that especially in the food and beverage space, that's crucial. So I think getting your product out there in the wild and getting trial, getting reactions, getting UGC is really the most crucial part right off the bat to focus on.
Yeah, I think that ability to provide authenticity to the brand is super important, and not something that you can just sort of fake.
Right. Customers, they see through that these days. So that's where you need to be clear on that, be true to yourself. You'll get called out, or you'll see plenty of content around that if you aren't solid in it. So
the bullshit detector for customers has increased pretty substantially, it feels like.
Absolutely. So it's crazy how much that's going to change even the last 4 or 5 years. Because I think larger brands and larger CPGs are seeing that as well, and finally kind of taking notice that they can't just kind of pull a cover over consumers' eyes these days anymore.
Yeah. Well, I got a couple of questions for you around like building and growing a team. But just before I get into that, with your first 12 months under your belt at TRUFF, what are some things that didn't go right or went not as well as you would have expected that listeners could glean some insights from?
Yeah, a really good question, because I think you need to learn just from your mistakes just as much as your successes, especially. So I would say fulfillment was and logistics was a challenge for us a year ago. So I think we ran into a number of bottlenecks with just getting product into our warehouses, getting them into Amazon warehouses in time. And so I think that was a miss right off the bat last year that we learned from, and we've kind of course corrected in that we're making sure that we're getting shipments scheduled, getting products sent out with plenty of lead time before any of our peak seasons, so that we can ensure that we actually are in stock. We're well prepared, well in advance. So I think that was one learning right off the bat, and things have cleared up obviously a little bit this year on the supply chain network side, but that was definitely an early learning. And then I think on the acquisition side, content side, I think we're still, as a lot of brands are on the TikTok side, there's not a universal playbook. You can't, have, this, really transferable playbook for content and what's going to work on the TikTok ad side. And I think that's still been, kind of a testing ground and learning ground. And, what is the right mix? What is the right content targeting strategy with TikTok, and how that works? Because there's obviously, the organic side, which we've done a great job in building and seeing success there. But how do we kind of layer on the TikTok ad platform and have that be a successful channel for us? So I think that's still very much something that we're learning as we go in and testing out constantly, and working with the TikTok team, to kind of create the right content for the ad side as well. So I think that's been a good learning space for us.
From an attribution standpoint, are you working with like a Triple Whale or Northbeam or something?
We are, yep. So Northbeam has been a crucial partner for us for that reason, on the attribution side.
Got it. Yeah. That's definitely been a big unlock for any of the brands that we work with, is trying to get a sense of where your customers are actually even coming from.
Right. Yep. And that's where we've seen, I think having that view on attribution, that's helped out TikTok tremendously, since I think the in-platform attribution leaves something to desire. So I think Northbeam definitely helps kind of give a true view and true north on attribution. And I think that's where we've seen, TikTok has been such a great platform for us on the organic side, in driving a lot of value to the brand.
So you had a team at Health Aid. I'm not sure if you had one before, but I assume you've been building out your team at TRUFF as well. What are,
correct,
like, if you were starting as a e-commerce director, it's just you're a team of one at that point. What is like what's your first hire? What does that look like? And what are some of the things that you're looking for when you're bringing on new team members to help scale a CPG brand?
Yeah, and I think pie in the sky, we would obviously have a team of 20 with all specific functions and roles. Obviously, par for the course, as I know, Brendan.
Yes.
Being a small startup, scrappy team, we've had to be very strategic with any new headcount we brought on, any new salaries where we're introducing, right off the bat. And I think this was kind of the case at Health Aid. Head of growth acquisition really was a primary, especially for an earlier stage. You need to drive trial acquisition and do that efficiently with any minimal budgets you might have starting out. So I think a head of growth acquisition is definitely a primary first headcount to look to add. On top of that, I think you're building out your CX, CRM, loyalty, and so that's where looking at maybe a head of CX or director of CX would be a crucial hire. That the CX side was actually really the first position that I created on my team once I joined. Is that kind of to our point, your earlier point, given that's such a high priority and focus for us, that is, I do view CX, loyalty, CRM, that's all kind of rolled in. So I think that's a crucial element. And then the operation side, that was the second hire that I made at Health Aid, having a director of operations, given that logistics, supply chain, packaging experience, all super important, kind of tying back to that full kind of customer journey and experience, that needs to be a primary focus. I think the one next hire that I would be looking to add, both at TRUFF and just in general, is an analyst. So having somebody to help with the storytelling, data insights, profiling, both on the retention side, as well as the acquisition side. I think that analyst and sales insights, hire would be kind of a next crucial hire to be adding to the team.
Yeah, I think analytics and e-commerce just in general is such a nightmare. You add up your three, or you add up all your apps and their attribution, and then your store is 3x the size that it actually is. And you're like, awesome.
Right.
I have no idea what the hell is going on.
Right. Yeah. And that's where kind of, now that there's other BI tools like a Northbeam, like a Triple Whale, the data is so disparate and it's fragmented across you're looking at GA, you're looking at Orange for kind of Hotjar for on-site intrusion. So there's so many different platforms and data sources. So I think having somebody to focus and consolidate and that data and storytelling across the different data points is crucial. So yeah, I think that's a crucial hire for any new e-commerce team, or even an established one that maybe doesn't have that built out yet.
Yeah, I'm not envious of your CFO in any way whatsoever.
It's a tough one, these days.
So why food? Because food's a pain in the ass for e-commerce.
Yeah.
Like why did you decide food and then continue to double down with that by moving into TRUFF?
I love the space. I really enjoyed. I had a small foray into the apparel world. It wasn't for me, and I mean, the apparel world, the technology world, very saturated at this point. So I wanted to be part of an early mover with a space that really hadn't done e-commerce or hadn't really nailed down how digital fits in to the landscape. So I enjoyed that from the early days with Kind. I think Kind was one of the best examples of an early adopter of e-commerce and kind of breaking through some entrenched larger companies in the space. And I think that obviously worked out pretty well for Kind, and was a crucial way to become a multi-billion-dollar behemoth in the CPG space. So I think for the longest time that was a viable and new way to kind of democratize groceries, since previously you're going up the General Mills, the Pepsis of the world, that their retail space is very tough to come by. So I think having e-com and digital was a way to democratize it a little bit more. So I think that was the case for the longest time and still is, but now it's just become a crowded marketplace as well on the e-com side for startup food and beverage brands. So now I think I've doubled down because I like the competition. I like going up against some very smart brands and kind of people in the space. So I think that's where my sports background maybe is kind of coming into a head here, where I like the competition.
Do you have like direct competitors though? Because when I think of products with competition, I think of like coffee or even kombucha. Like there's a lot of kombucha brands now.
For sure.
I don't necessarily think of truffle condiments as a space overrunning with competitors.
No, and you're exactly right, and that's right. It's a slightly different for us, since it's not one-to-one competitor like a Health Aid has a Kavita or a GT's or any countless other kind of gut health beverage brands. For us, it's more against premium condiments. So we might have one competitor in the hot sauce space, a different competitor in the mayo space, a different competitor in the pasta sauce space or the truffle oil space. So I think that's where it's a little bit different in that sense, where we're going up against different competitors depending on the product line or category. And it's still not necessarily a one-to-one. It's just more, if you have a premium pasta sauce, TRUFF, we're positioning as, well, why don't you try TRUFF? We feel that TRUFF, our pasta sauce, is the best pasta sauce out there in the premium space. So more kind of positioning it that way, on a more kind of granular level with competitive set by product category.
That makes sense. How did your customers respond to the product expansion? Like, did you get a lot of trial from your existing customers?
100%. Yeah, I think that and that's where that was a huge success for us, is that we were able to leverage this massive customer list that we built up on our hot sauce and expand that into our mayos, our pasta sauce, our oil as we launch those. And any product launch that we have, we see a tremendous kind of lift and conversion with your existing customer base, since there is that desire and that demand for any new products, since we're constantly getting hit up with our customers and our fans about new products, new expansion we should be doing. So it's a crucial part of any launch strategy for new products that we have.
Does SMS play a factor into your launches at all?
It does. So it was kind of exciting. That was, I guess, a little bit of newness that since I joined. So when I joined, we did not have any SMS program, and so we launched that in January this year. So still relatively new for the brand. I know a lot of brands are obviously, getting into SMS, and that's new for them as well. But we actually leveraged SMS for one of our, collab drops that we did earlier this year with Warren Lotus, who's a fashion designer, streetwear designer. And we had a special designed, cap and version limited drop product with Warren Lotus earlier this year in March. And we actually leverage SMS for the first access to the product, and we sold out within 24 hours, and that was largely due to the SMS drop or SMS first access. So we saw a ton of success with that, and I think want to continue to leverage SMS as a crucial channel for any drops or kind of product launches, since we've seen a lot of success early on with SMS.
Yeah, it definitely lends itself more to that like VIP experience.
100%.
And we've had a lot of success with that as well. But I've got like 1,000 more questions for you. I'm going to wrap it up with two final ones here. So first question on the product expansion side of things, when is like the right time, or what are some of the indicators you should look for before a brand says like, oh yeah, we're going to expand outside of this? Because we work with a lot of CPG brands, and I'm thinking of a few like specific ones, but IMI, for example, like they have their ramen, and they have some new flavors, but that's what they have. Like when would make sense for them to potentially look at expanding beyond just that one product category?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and it's hard to give like an exact rule of thumb, but I think as you start to see, maybe your LTV start to plateau a little bit, I think that might be when you kind of say, okay, we need some newness. There's an opportunity to expand. Just from a product assortment standpoint, as you start to see your LTV start to plateau a little bit, because maybe that is, a customer is looking for going elsewhere for some other products that, you would fit with the ramen, or whatever product category you're in. So I think that to me would be the kind of first signal to keep a, close eye on. And then just overall, I would say list growth, if you're seeing that kind of slow down a little bit as well. I think newness in the food and beverage space, especially whether that's flavor or product assortment, that is a great way to kind of pump up buzz, list growth, LTV growth by just overall flavor or product expansion.
Got it. That makes sense. I'm always looking for our clients to make more products so that I can try more of them.
My cabinet needs to be stocked a little bit more. There's always room.
Yeah, at one point it was overwhelming. I think the front desk at my condo hated me. They're just like, here's another shipment of X, Y, and Z, like massive package too, with like dry ice or something.
Everything,
like you're getting sausages shipped to you. It's like, just go to the grocery store. A little bit overwhelming, but
that's amazing.
Yeah. So last question, any sort of tips, things that you'd give to anyone else who's in the CPG e-commerce space before we wrap up here?
I think tap into the network. I think that's the other thing that I've seen. I know this goes, kind of for e-com in general, but especially the CPG space, given it still is a tighter, it's a smaller space. It's not as kind of, widespread on e-com, it's getting there. But there's a lot of great Slack groups. There's a lot of great communities that I've been able to plug in with. And I think we all, the more we kind of grow together and help kind of, really establish, digital CPG and food and beverage, the better, everything, is for, as a whole. So I think connecting with those groups, everybody's looking to share advice, tips, tricks. I think I'm learning things on a daily basis just from these groups, and kind of figure out what's working, what's not working, what are other brands seeing, any pitfalls to avoid. So get plugged in and stay connected with that network, as I think it's super crucial and critical to stay close with that network. And we all want to help each other out as much as we can. So I think that would be the biggest thing right off the bat, is just if you're starting a brand or you've started a brand already, plug in with those network and ask for help, ask questions. That's the best way to learn. And I think people are willing and wanting to share what they've seen on their end.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the community is invaluable, and nobody views it as like direct competition. It's all about how can we all like help each other. So
Absolutely. I think it's crucial. And I know we've stayed connected in that sense as well. I think that's the more we stay connected and share learnings, the better we'll all be for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll maybe have to do a follow-up one next year once you have 85 more TRUFF products, and I'll answer my next 1,000 questions. But
and I'll send them to your office to load you up as well, Brandon. So yeah.
Yes, my personal home office that only I will be getting to try. But thank you so much for joining us. Before we hop off, can you let people know where they can find you and TRUFF online?
Absolutely. So you can find us on our DTC site, truff.com, and you can find me on LinkedIn. So search for Calvin Lammers, and would be great to connect or chat if we haven't previously. So thanks again for having me on, Brandon.
Of course. Well, as always, thank you everybody for listening. This is Brandon Amoroso. You can find me at brandonamoroso.com or electricmarketing.com, and we'll see you next time.